The purpose of this Transition Action Plan project was to work closely with the student in order to help them formulate a transition action plan and student transition portfolio. Both of these products help communicate the student's strengths, interests, needs, challenges, and dreams or goals for their future. The student I chose for this assignment will be referred to as GH. He is a fifth grade student and is one of 10 inside my special education classroom. GH agreed to participate and signed his permission form on February 18th. His mother also signed the permission form for her and her son to participate on February 19th. I have worked with GH for 2 years now. He was placed on an IEP January 8th, 2015, with a primary disability of serious emotional disability. GH is thriving in the small classroom environment and expectable routine at his current school. He loves to interact with staff and discuss his passion of pets, animals, and robots. GH's language and vocabulary skills are exceptional. He continues to be interested in how things function, especially mechanical robots, computers, and enjoys working on projects with his teachers in a structured way. GH's favorite independent activity is drawing and reading books with pictures of machines and robots. In our student interview, GH told me that he struggles with self-esteem and confidence and feels uncomfortable describing his strengths. As we worked together through this project, I began introducing him to self-determination skills and allowing him to practice self-determination in the classroom. Through informal and formal assessments, GH was able to better understand his strengths, interests, challenges, and future job goals. According to GH, he had very low self-advocacy skills when we began this project. Next week, on May 20th, GH will attend his first IEP meeting via Zoom video conferencing and will present a PowerPoint slide that we created together, and it explains his strengths and future goals. This is a major step for GH, and all the information gathered through this project will be considered and integrated into GH's IEP. When I started this project with GH, we were located inside of our school in Longmont, Colorado. Halfway through the project, after the TAP 2 was due, our school was shut down due to the spread of COVID-19. I had created lessons in my TAP 2 transition outline that needed to be modified for online teaching. Luckily, my TAP student and I still had access to each other via Zoom and academic learning sessions through Seesaw and iReady. For a lot of the lessons that I had incorporated social emotional skills being taught, which was difficult to teach over video without access to his peers. Otherwise, I was very happy with how the project turned out, and the skills GH learned will serve him well as he prepares for his transition to middle school next year. This transition portfolio I've created for GH is based on the concept that his learning is a lifelong, ongoing process. It can become a personalized planner designed to guide GH in his career development process. It is not just to be used for this year, he'll be able to use it as he continues to middle school and high school. GH will begin to develop his skills needed for self-exploration and self-determination. This portfolio is important because it's able to teach GH how to develop a plan of action for the future. During this project, there was many assessments that I chose to give to GH. These assessments were the Woodcock-Johnson 3, the Key Math 3, the Child Preference Indicators, Teaching Self-Determination to Early Elementary Students, Self-Determination Checklist for Elementary Students, and the New Parent Transition Survey. These assessments are based on GH's current IEP and student work samples in reading, writing, and mathematics. Um, Based on the assessments, I created and identified instructional goals for GH during this project. The skills focused on are reading, writing, mathematics, social skills, problem solving, and executive functioning skills. GH is 2 grade levels behind in reading and a grade level behind in mathematics. His learning goals for this project were learning and apply reading skills and strategies, learning and apply mathematical strategies, understanding concepts of a healthy lifestyle, understanding and applying techniques to art, and as well as social emotional goals. After modifying lessons to be done over Zoom, I was able to collaborate with GH's family and um, was able to successfully complete these lessons with GH over video conferencing. We created a fable together and read many fables and compared them. We had angles in nature, and we were measuring angles that were found out in nature. We even did an art project over Zoom. We created a paper mache tiger that we will then include with the rest of the students next year and incorporate that into some more lessons. We also were able to complete a lot of physical activity games over Zoom, and we were able to do the introduction to self-determination, and we talked a lot about his involvement in the IEP process. Next week, GH will lead a PowerPoint presentation over his strengths and interests, and he will join everyone with the IEP team for his meeting. Transition is a mandate of the IDEA in 1990. The purpose of legislation transition services was to better prepare our students with disabilities for the workplace and to foster greater independence. For students with a disability, transition requires extra planning and goal setting. Factors to consider include post-secondary education, the development of career and vocational skills, as well as the ability to live independently. The first step in planning for a successful transition is developing a student's transition plan. A transition plan is required for students enrolled in special education and who have an IEP. Through this project, I was able to practice creating a student transition portfolio and learn more about the process with the help of a student in my classroom, GH. I had taught high school for 2 years before switching to the elementary age students, so I was aware of how focused the student's IEP became on post-secondary goals and transitioning to adulthood. It was nice to finally learn more about the transition process, including the why and how questions. This project also opened my eyes to how beneficial transition planning can be, even for students in the elementary level. I asked GH to be a part of this project because we had known each other for 2 years, and the next year he would be transitioning out of my classroom and into the middle school classroom with a new teacher. I knew GH struggled with self-esteem, along with social emotional skills and peer collaboration skills. However, when I asked him and his mother to be a part of the project, they were beyond excited and ready to jump in when I explained more about the process of planning. The informal and formal assessment phase was very fun for GH and I. He learned more about his strengths and interests, and the self-determination assessments provided deep reflections for GH and intense discussions between us. After assessments were completed, GH asked to be a part of his IEP this May, which is a huge step for him and a major success. This project has already had a major impact on my current and future teaching practices. Because I'm teaching younger students, transition planning was not really on my radar like it had been when teaching high school students. In our textbook, Vaughn also states that it's never too early to begin transition planning and teaching self-determination skills. GH had never shown an interest in learning more about himself, but now that he's engaged in his academic lessons after making the connections to future jobs, and he's able to list his strengths and interests very easily. I believe if all of my students were able to make connections to their future and learn self-determination skills, many of them would be more engaged with academic lessons. I would also like to involve the families of my students in this entire process, just like I did with GH. I saw the benefits of collaborating with GH's family, which produced higher engagement in online lessons and important connections to his interests and future goals. After this class, I will focus on creating student portfolios for all of my students to help with transition planning. All of my students and their families will be able to use the data for future IEP meetings. I will also begin to invite all my students to their own IEP meetings and encourage their active participation. Thank you.